Hi, Rich Karuba for bowlingball.com. We've had a lot of inquiries on how to reduce bowling hook on dry lanes. How to reduce bowling hook on dry lanes? Well, there's a series of adjustments that you can do, a series of things that you can make happen on very dry lanes to get a more controllable ball reaction. And by that, you want to visualize seeing a little bit of a less hooking motion, a consistent skid length so the ball doesn't hook too soon on you and you lose control of where the ball ends up down at the pin deck. The first adjustment is ball speed. First of all, the most important thing is whenever you bowl anywhere where there's a lot of oil or dry lanes is to regulate your ball speed. So if you change speed, you got to be able to deliver that changed speed. For example, in this case on dry lanes, if you increase from your regular ball speed, you better be well practiced so you can control that speed every delivery. And you might have to practice a little bit at the moment you let the ball release from your hand so you clear the foul line. A lot of bowlers try to throw harder and they drop the ball, it bounces on the floor behind the foul line. That's no good. You want to get it out on the lane surface from 6 inches to say 2 feet, something like that, and get that ball into the lane surface so it hits the oil and skids down the lane and you keep your ball speed up on those dry lanes. Next, change bowling balls. You don't need to use your most hooking bowling ball and your powerful ball that you use on strikes for spares or for dry lanes. A plastic ball, an entry-level reactive resin, or perhaps just a regular urethane ball will work fine on dry lanes. So you want to gear down in the surface friction capability of the cover stock of the ball you choose for use on dry lanes. Polishing a ball can be tricky too, because if you have a reactive resin pearl reactive bowling ball and you polish it with tacky polish, it gets even tackier. And then when it grips the back end of the lane, it really grabs and hooks. So you got to be careful to smooth the surface of the ball out with the grit pads that you can use, like a finer grit pad, 2,000 to 4,000 in that range. And also make sure that if you use polish, you don't use one that has a lot of grit or texture to it so it slides good on dry lanes. Consult your pro shop operator on that. One of the things that you need to really be good at is alignment. And you've got to learn how to make adjustments as lanes change and as the lanes dry out. You can't stay in the same place you started bowling on the approach. Now, if you guys are 190 average bowlers listening to this video, you already know that. You top players know that already. But sometimes the beginning bowlers and the intermediate level bowlers who are now taking the game seriously think that a small adjustment of a couple inches on the approach with your feet, a couple boards, is going to do it. Sometimes you got to move 10 or 12 or 15 boards with your feet and maybe half as many on the lane with your target, your sighting target, where you focus your eyes on somewhere near the bowling arrows. And you want to have a little system for that adjustment. So check with your coaches. Make sure that you try to use some type of ratio adjustment. You want to make sure you move your eyes and where you sight on the lane along with your feet in the same direction. That's important. And the other thing is to try to move your feet at least twice or maybe 3 times the amount you move your target on the lane. And you might have to make multiple adjustments of 2 and 1 or 3 and 1 several times until you get lined up just right on a very dry lane. So if you start on a dry lane, start moving. Get to a point to where your ball skids far enough and it doesn't quite hook back to the pocket. Once you do that, then you can adjust back toward your normal strike line positioning. Now, changing releases is important too, but it's dangerous. The thing to do on dry lanes is to try to add a little bit more reverse tilt to your hand, keeping the edge of the hand straight. If you allow this hand wrist to cock in this fashion and it uncocks, it's going to really rev up the ball, tilt the axis, and it's going to make it hook even more. It's going to work against you on dry lanes. So keep the wrist straight, tilt it back slightly, and try to avoid rotating the ball too much. I recommend a wrist support device, one that's adjustable so you can position the wrist and you don't have to think about it. The other thing is when you release the ball, try not to grab it and lift it and help it. Let it flow off your hands, of your pads of your fingers and thumb down the lane. You don't need a lot of release action on the ball to get it to respond. You want to control your skid length. That's most important. And finally, the combination effect of all the things I've mentioned, of ball speed, of changing bowling balls, of working on your release changes, all those things you can work in combination sometimes to get the right little series of adjustments so you can, like opening a safe, you get the right combination, you can open the door, and you can take out the money. That was a favorite of my friend Don Johnson, the great Hall of Fame bowling legend, used to tell his students that all the time. It's a game of combinations, isn't it? I hope some of these tips help you. Get out to the practice lane, please. Thank you.